up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Another day is here. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. We gotta keep moving, na 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 na. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Everybody gotta put their time in. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Voice of opinion and place your calling. WB. Get up, make every day count. Don't waste it, people. Do your part, play your role, get where you need to. You can tune in from work or in your vehicle. If you got a problem, pick up the phone. Why wait till the time? Calling is a show. It no matter even if you're at home. Just call in. WB. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Another day is here. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. We gotta keep moving, na 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 na. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Everybody gotta put their time in. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Voice of opinion and place your calling. WB. Be yourself, see yourself. This is a show, my people. Belize our hope, so to needless reason. Nobody feel left out is the vibe we're dealing. Let's find a solution. Yeah. Love, respect, selfishness and cooperation. That's how we need to build a strong nation. We are the people to make the changes. We are the changes. WB. And all the things that must be happen under God blue skies. And nothing that people get victimized. Let's work together for better. We got to unite. Belize, yeah. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Another day is here. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. We gotta keep moving, na 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 na. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Everybody gotta put their time in. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Voice of opinion and place your calling. WB. Belize, wake up, Belize. Another day is here. Wake up, Belize, wake up, Belize. We gotta keep moving, na 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 na. Wake up, Belize, wake up, Belize. Everybody gotta put their time in. Wake up, Belize, wake up, Belize. Voice of opinion and place your calling. WB. Be yourself, see yourself. This is a show of people. Belize our hope, so to needless reason. Nobody feel left out is the vibe we deal. Let's find a solution. Yeah. Love, respect, selfishness and cooperation. That's how we need to build a strong nation. We are the people to make this wake up Belize. Another day is here. Wake up Belize, we gotta keep moving, na 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 na. Wake up Belize, everybody gotta put their time in. Wake up Belize, voice our opinion and place your calling. WB, get up, make every day count. Don't waste it, people. Do your part, play around, get where you need to. You can tune in for work or in your vehicle. If you got a problem, pick up the phone. Why wait till the time calling? It's a show with no matter even if you're at home. Just call in, WB. Wake up Belize, another day is here. Wake up Belize, we gotta keep moving, na 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 na. Wake up Belize, everybody gotta put their time in. Wake up Belize, voice our opinion and place your calling, WB. Be yourself, see yourself, this is a show, my people. Belize our hope, so to needless reason. Your body feel left out is the vibe we're dealing. Let's find a solution, yeah. Love, respect, unselfishness and cooperation. That's how we need to build a strong nation. We are the people to make the changes. We are the changes, WB. And all the things that will feel happen under God blue skies. I love it that people get victimized. Let's work together for better. We got to unite. Belize, yeah. Wake up Belize, another day is here. Wake up Belize, we gotta keep moving, na 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 na. Wake up Belize, everybody gotta put their time in. Wake up Belize, voice our opinion and place your calling, WB.
Welcome. This is WUB Wake Up Belize Morning Vibes, a wet, extremely wet Friday morning, the 15th day of November 2024. And we welcome you to the program this morning. We hope that you will stay with us for the whole morning. We have guests coming in, and we won't let you forget the weather condition, but at least we'll have you listening and understanding and appreciating some ideas as we listen to the raindrops outside. This is a very serious period of time, and so if we have to interspace with giving you updates, we will certainly do that. And we first give you a look at the weather, and then we bring you up to date with our news center, and then we'll begin our conversation a little bit after 7 o'clock. We go now to our weather forecaster.
Good morning. Tropical storm Sarah is affecting the country. The 24-hour forecast: skies will be mostly cloudy to overcast. Widespread rain with numerous embedded showers and a few thunderstorms, which may be strong at times, will affect the country through today and then especially over coastal and southern areas tonight. Please note that an excessive rainfall watch remains in effect for the country and will likely be upgraded to a warning later today. Also, a strong thunderstorm watch is in effect, as there is a potential for thunderstorms to produce heavy rainfall, intense lightning, and damaging winds. High temperatures for today will reach around 83 degrees Fahrenheit along the coast, 85 degrees Fahrenheit inland, and 70 degrees Fahrenheit in the mountains. Low temperatures for tonight will reach around 74 degrees Fahrenheit along the coast, 71 degrees Fahrenheit inland, and 65 degrees Fahrenheit in the hills. Winds over the open sea will be from the north to northeast at 20 to 40 knots and squally at times. And sea conditions will be high. So please note that the small craft caution has been upgraded to a warning and mariners should remain in safe harbor. High tides occur at 9:55 this morning and then at 8:59 tonight. Low tides at 3 o'clock this evening and then at 4:27 tomorrow morning. The moon set at 5:36 this morning and will rise at 5:07 this evening. Sunrise was at 5:58 this morning and sunset will be at 5:16 this evening. The extended forecast. Tropical storm conditions are expected for Saturday and Saturday night. Skies will be overcast with strong to squally winds. Widespread rain with numerous embedded showers and thunderstorms are expected across the country and coastal waters. And now for a look at the tropics. At 6 a.m., Tropical Storm Sarah was located near latitude 16.1 north and longitude 85.5 west, or about 40 miles southeast of Isla Guanaja, Honduras, and about 205 miles east-southeast of Belize City. The system was moving to the west at 9 miles per hour with maximum sustained winds of 50 miles per hour. Please note that a tropical storm watch is in effect from Belize City southward to Placencia and will likely be upgraded to a tropical storm warning later this morning. And that has been this morning's weather report from the National Meteorological Service.
The first private radio in Belize since 1989. Creme FM presents the news. Informative, accurate, current information, local, regional, and international news, weather and sports. And now, the news.
Effects of Tropical Storm Sarah started impacting Belize last night, and the system is predicted to make landfall in Belize by Sunday evening as a tropical storm, or worst case scenario, a weak Category 1 hurricane. An excessive rainfall warning is currently in effect for the entire country, and a tropical storm warning is expected to be announced early this morning. As at 9 o'clock last night, the system was moving west at 10 miles per hour with maximum sustained winds of 45 miles per hour. A slow west-northwesterly westward motion is forecast for late Saturday. Early Saturday, Sarah is expected to move near the northern coast of Honduras and approach Belize on Sunday, when some strengthening is expected to about 50 miles per hour. Strong winds can result in minor damages to weak structures. Principal hydrologist Tenille Hendy provided some update at 9 o'clock Thursday morning regarding the flood forecast, given that 5 to 10 inches of rain are expected with locally high values.
With the estimated accumulation of 10 inches of rainfall over a 5-day period, what we can expect that we will be seeing flooding in those areas that will be affected. The areas that are already flooded, if you receive additional rainfall, we can see the extent widening in these areas, and when it cannot what we say spread out anymore, the extent it will go deeper. So we might see an increase in the flood level height, or the height of the water in your area.
In the case of areas of the Cayo district, several communities began experiencing flash floods on Thursday evening. Already, the National Emergency Management Organization, NEMO, is in some areas assisting with flooding due to prior rains. Here is NEMO coordinator Daniel Mendez.
NEMO has actually been in continuous operations over the past few weeks. We have been providing support to flood-prone areas, and let me share you some examples of these. Currently, we are supporting two areas that are currently being impacted by flood. These are the villages of San Roman on the Rio Hondo and San Antonio. As you are aware, that these areas are currently impassable by road. So we have been providing support to those. Currently, what I'm showing you is a satellite image that was taken a few days ago. Note that this is older imagery. It is very difficult to get good or recent imagery because of different cloud covers, which make it almost impossible for us to see. But what this is showing you is the as of November the 2nd, the water levels in the along the Rio Hondo. So we are currently supporting boat operations in the Rio San Antonio area, where residents are ferried across this flooded area highlighted in blue by boat. In the San Roman area, you will also note that the darker areas are flood areas that are currently underwater via a boat that is provided by the Belize Defense Force and also by a Belize Defense Force truck, which is also ferrying residents across these flooded areas. Currently, we're also monitoring the increasing levels in the village of Douglas. There are currently 2 families in shelter there. And as I stated before, in San Roman and Santa Cruz area, we are continuing the support of ferrying of workers and students utilizing BDF trucks and boats. I just want to reiterate that as Tropical Depression 19 advances, the importance of continuous planning remains. We are still in a hurricane season, and it's still a very active season. People, all residents, all interests across the country need to remain prepared. Particularly persons living in flood-prone areas need to keep on monitoring the system and to be prepared to take action if necessary.
As to mandating the closure of businesses, Mendez says that they would be guided by the information from the Met Office, and it is the chairman of NEMO, the Prime Minister, who gives the go-ahead for that command. Mendez failed to indicate if there is a cutoff time for NEMO to make a decision on this issue based on predicted estimated time of landfall. Shelters will be open based on need as determined by the district emergency management organizations. Up to Thursday night, NEMO did not intend to hold a press conference today. One is expected on Saturday morning. With yet another tropical storm threatening Belize this hurricane season, after what feels like little warning, residents will have to make quick decisions. One set of residents have even more decisions to make. K. Raymark Theos, the president of the Belize Assembly of Persons with Diverse Abilities, BAPDA, said that for persons with disabilities, even getting to a shelter if the need arises is not simple. Theos explains that there is assistance provided to those with disabilities, but many times they have to rely on volunteers with vehicles.
Well, we have a seat on NEMO for Belize City, and they had a meeting this morning at 10:30. And also too, in the event that something like, if it gets serious, also then CMO, I guess, would be activated as well. And CMO has already pledged to assist us in getting our supplies to the shelter. And our supplies are mainly things that the disabled or elderly might need while they're there, having to do with bandages or cleaning supplies, adult diapers, things of that sort. So we put those in place for them. If a member is in need of assistance, they will reach out to us and they will tell us, well, this is what I need, this is where I'm at, and then we try to get back to CMO as before, and then CMO would or NEMO would arrange pickup and transfer from wherever they are to a better situation. They have another bus that they use. Sometimes they use a bus from the Inspiration Center. Also, they have NEMO has use of vehicles from government, and also the not only does that, but also the BDF as well. It depends on the severity, because if you're like in the river valley and those areas, obviously you need a BDF truck because the water might be higher than what you would find in the city.
CS advised that with the effects of climate change already here, it may be the norm that we have less time to prepare for tropical storms and hurricanes, and emphasize the importance of having a plan and food items already stocked. However, he admits that even during the best of times, some may find it difficult to get meals, let alone save for emergencies.
People must understand that climate change is upon us, and things will change and change rapidly. So we have to adjust as well. So it's important that the authorities and those that are in the business of providing services to those who need it during an emergency understand that as well, and the citizenry to understand the reason why these things are happening. Also, to be better prepared in their own homes, because if we sing the same song every time, have three days of food available, and some people take it as a joke, think it's not important, but it will become more and more important, because what happens is that if this thing is upon you, and literally now it gives you a day or two to get out the way or to do what you need to do, then you need to have some stuff at hand, because the stores will be swamped. And for a disabled person, that's extra hard, because they are not even able to get out of their house in some cases. And when they do, they cannot go into a shop that is crowded, overcrowded, and compete with anybody to get a pound of beans and a pound of rice. They can't do it. So that means that they're left out, they're excluded again. So they need to make sure, that they have stuff, the basics. And that's hard too, because then in some cases they don't have the money to even buy the basics. But in those cases, then that's where the state comes in and assists, or organizations such as us. We can't feed anybody, but we can try to make sure that food comes to you somehow.
With Tropical Storm Sarah approaching the Belizean coastline, the country is in for another wet weekend. Lately, with increased rainfalls and more to come, the Ministry of Infrastructure Development and Housing has been busy keeping an eye on the country's road network. Chief Engineer Evan Dale Moody said that the ministry has been proactive since before the start of the hurricane season.
From the onset of the hurricane season, the Minister Spot, CEO Spot, and myself, we basically put a plan in motion for the entire hurricane season. And so we've met regularly every Tuesday with the technical team. So even though we don't have any storms, there are works that we are doing in preparation for the event that we have a storm. So in each of our districts, we have stockpiled already materials in the event that we have washout on certain roads, that we have material readily available. In each district, we have extra culverts that we have procured of various sizes. So those are also available in the event we have washout on roads or secondary roads or former roads that needs to be addressed immediately. Our equipments are also have been serviced and ready to move. So what we'll do, we'll have another meeting tomorrow morning, basically to strategize on how we go, depending upon where the storm will make landfall and where it affects more significantly. The ideal plan is that we will have most of our equipment in the Belmont area. From there, we could move out into the districts, whether it's Belize City, the Orange Rock and Rosal district, or the south or the west. So we have been doing a number of things to have everything in place in the event we have to mobilize.
And lastly, the former chief policy analyst at the Belize Chamber of Commerce and Industry and the former editor of the Reporter newspaper, Dion Elliott, has been appointed as the new general manager of the National Bank of Belize. Elliott has already been serving as the bank's head of business development, marketing, and strategy. He holds a Master's of Science in Economics and Banking and Finance. The appointment took effect on November the 1st. He succeeds Alvaro Alamina, who led the bank for a decade. And that's our news package for this morning, the 15th day of November. And of course, there's news throughout the day, especially because of our inclement weather that is on us at this time. There's an update at 12 and one at 3 and a full news broadcast at 5:15. Here on XTV, we bring you the entire news at 6 o'clock this evening. It's now a minute to 7 o'clock. We will begin our conversation right after this break.
The first private radio in Belize since 1989. The news. Informative, accurate, current information, local, regional, and international news, weather and sports.
This holiday season, Santa's elves are making a special delivery to Atlantic Bank, making sure all customers have something extra spectacular to celebrate this Christmas. Apply for a personal loan today and get a chance to win one of 25 prizes. For more information, visit our website at www.atlabank.com. Atlantic Bank, making your holiday season magical.
Amandala is now online. You can now access Amandala's midweek and weekend issues online by logging on to our website at amandala.com.bz/news and joining our membership portal today. There's 5 easy steps to get unlimited access to weekly e-paper, archive publications, and a host of other exclusive contents. Number 1, go to Amandala's website. Number 2, navigate to subscribed areas. Number 3, choose a membership level. Number 4, check out using our secured portal. Number 5, log into the members only section. Telephone numbers 501-280-4702.
welcome back. This is WUB, Wake Up Belize Morning Vibes on the 15th day. It's a Friday. It's the 15th day of November. Very, very wet weekend here in our country and in this region. We're honored now to have as our guest this morning, as promised, a Belizean who has been on the show before. We are very, very happy to have Ms. Sharon S.K. Williams, a Belizean, with us this morning. Welcome, sister. Welcome. All right, I think at least I'm hearing you. Let me at least do some introduction before we begin our conversation. Our sister Sharon S.K. Williams is an attorney at law, a migration activist and teacher. She has practiced migration law for 20 years before becoming a teacher. She was born in Punta Gorda, Belize, and raised in Belize City. She emigrated to the United States in the mid-1970s and lived in New York City until 2001, when she relocated to San Francisco Bay Area, where she currently resides. Ms. Williams attended St. Catherine's Elementary School while living in Belize. She attended high school in New York City. She received her undergraduate degree at Hunter College in Hunter College City University in New York, her master's degree in African Studies at New York University, and her law degree at Fordham University of Law, also in New York. She is currently working on her doctorate in education at the University of Southern California. Ms. Williams is a poet, a writer, a Garifuna, and goes by the pen name Jerry Woman Poet. She has 3 adult children. And that's a long introduction to you, sister, but we have to give you your credits. Thank you very much for being with us. You remember, if I might say, that the last time you were on, you were very popular because Belizeans were so concerned about immigration issues, and you as an attorney really spread a very clear picture for our listeners and viewers. So we're very happy that you're able to come back during the Trump time. Thank you for being here. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's very early in the morning for me, so I'm still a little bit from waking up. But yeah, hello to everybody from Northern California. I'm in the San Francisco Bay Area. And I just want to say before I even get started that whatever I'm going to tell you is for my own purposes, but also for the purposes of the radio station, is not legal advice. It is just informational.
Of course.
And also there's no attorney-client privilege formed between myself or the radio station for anything that I say. Right now things are very, very unclear still, and so I hope to provide some sort of information for folks who are concerned. At the end of the day, you know, once things get implemented, I'd be happy to come back and talk a little bit more.
All right. I'm glad you're making that because some of us are thinking that, as Mr. Trump has promised on day one, he will begin this mass deportation, and he got a lot of people very much afraid. We've been done afraid of immigration for a long time, but even more so now, people are very, very concerned. So let's unpack this whole idea of mass deportation. We know and understand that there are over 11 million people living in the United States that are illegal. And certainly that is not just from our region, but generally around the world. But we are very concerned with the policy as it relates to this area, particularly Mexico, Central America, and of course the Caribbean. Can you help us to understand what we should look at in this first period of Mr. Trump's administration as it relates to mass deportation?
Sure. First, I want to say that the whole idea of day one, and I know people get really anxious when they hear that because he's a blowhard. I'll say that. This is a guy that is all puffed up and says all kinds of things to get people to believe what he says. And honestly, immigration people should understand this right away. Deportation is a legal process. It is not pick you up and put you across the border, right? Pick you up and put you across the border, which is what he is trying to get people to believe, is not possible because it's a legal process. There are laws in place now to put people to put people out of the country. There are laws in place, and so it is not there's not a possibility for day one of anything because it's a long process. So for anybody who has gone through any kind of legal procedure when it comes to immigration, whether it's deportation or trying to get a green card or whatever, citizenship, it takes a while because there's a federal agency that you have to deal with. And as we all know, it can be very bureaucratic. That being said, the question I put to the Trump administration about this day one idea, how are you going to do that, right? Yeah, I don't want to minimize people's anxiety and fear about what's going to happen down the road, but it's not a day one thing. People should be concerned. What I have seen in my very long practice is people get picked up through racial profiling mostly and are put across the border into Mexico. It's a huge problem for Mexico because those are not their citizens typically, right? And so if you're from a place like Belize, they can't just put you across the border in Mexico. I've had a number of people from Belize that has happened to, and we brought them back we forced the government to bring them back because that is not a legal deportation. Like I said, deportation is a legal process, and if you just get picked up and put across the border without some kind of process, it's illegal, and you can sue the government, one, but two, you can also force them to bring you back to be legally deported. So if you are deportable because you are undocumented, and I don't like the term illegal, if you're in this country without process, you are not illegal, you're undocumented, and so, but you have to go through that process for deportation. And one thing that I want to stress to people is that for them to deport you, you have to get something called a notice to appear for deportation. It is a form that is sent to you by immigration that asks you to come to court in order to go through the deportation process. My advice to everyone, when you receive a notice to appear, please show up, go to court. Then the reason that you would do that, people like to think if I go to court, they're going to pick me up and they're going to detain me, or they're going to put me across the border. That's not how it works. You should go to court because you need to go through that legal process in order to either solve your problem, right? Because if you go to court, there might be, and you get a lawyer, you should get a lawyer. And I advise everyone at this point, if you are in a serious situation, get a lawyer. I am in Northern California. I can't be your lawyer if you're not around here. And right now I am not practicing, but I can give you recommendations if you contact me.
Okay.
And so go to court, go through your process. And the reason that is important is that even if you are deported, even if you're ordered deported, and if you are ordered deported, you should leave. Why? Because your deportation process, at the end of it, if you're ordered deported, it gives you what's called a bar time, right? Bar time can be 3 years, 10 years, 5 years, whatever. And it sounds like a long time, but it is important to serve that time because, and to receive that time from the judge, because then it tells you, well, now you can come back into the U.S. after this period has passed. That being said, if you have issues like multiple DUIs, driving under the influence, or you have domestic violence convictions or things like that, then you get a permanent bar. So, meaning that if you commit those kinds of acts, you cannot return to the U.S. if you are convicted.
Let me slow that down for a minute, because you're saying that if, for example, you have simply overstayed your time and you go through the process and you are deported, they give you a certain amount of time that deportation is in effect. 5 years, 10 years. But once that passes, you can apply again to come back into the United States. However, if you are deported as a criminal, then you don't have that right to apply to come back in. Is that how it is?
Well, excuse me, criminal is a very broad term, right? So it depends on what you're convicted of.
I see.
Because there are people who have convictions that will not give them a permanent bar time, right? And so felony convictions are different than misdemeanor convictions. And so you have all kinds of, which is why you need to get a lawyer, right? Because if you have certain convictions and they have, certain times have passed, or they're misdemeanor convictions and so on, that's a very different process than if you have a felony conviction for drug smuggling or gun violence or domestic violence, which is a big one, or multiple DUI. So those are Class A felonies, and those convictions can be deportable with a permanent bar, is what I'm saying. Other convictions, you have all kinds of ways to probably either expunge them or things like that. When you have convictions, it is really, really important to get a lawyer who has a background and an expertise in criminal convictions. That's a whole other practice of immigration. It is called criminal immigration practice. There are not a whole lot of lawyers that do that. When you contact a lawyer for those purposes, you don't want to just get any immigration lawyer. You need to get an immigration lawyer that has a criminal conviction background, right? And so, a lot of people that I meet, Belizeans included, love to go to notarios. Those are people who are not lawyers, who will tell you they'll do your papers for you. You pay them a whole bunch of money, and then they can't help you, especially if you have criminal convictions, and especially if you're undocumented. You don't want to fool around with that process at all. And so you want to get a lawyer, no matter what. But for criminal convictions, you want to get somebody who specializes in criminal convictions, right? And so, that's the advice there. For people who are simply undocumented, I want to give you the comfort that it takes time to go through the process, number one, but it also takes time. It's going to take time for this administration to pass legislation. It's going to take a while.
All right. So that day one fear that many have is not real. In other words, you're not going to be picked up by ICE and put across the border anytime soon, even if you're illegal.
Well, that's not how it works, right? Even if you get picked up by ICE, and the people who are picked up by ICE are people who typically, like I said, we don't know what this new administration is gonna come up with. I will in a second talk about some legislation that is possibly down the road, but we're not sure how they're going to do it. What we have seen in the past is ICE roundups. Yes, they're called ICE raids. I don't know that they're going to be implementing those again because they were pretty ineffective, and they end up costing the government a lot of money, billions of dollars, because when they do ICE raids and they pick people up, and the people who get picked up by ICE are usually people who have convictions, who are already in the notice of the immigration authorities. So, and then there's also a lot of racial profiling, right? And so it was not a very good policy to go round up people like that, because it ended up people have to go through the process anyway, and if they put them across the border, like I said, the government has to then go to the country, pick up the person, bring them back. Imagine how costly that is. Yeah, exactly. And there were a number of Belizeans that I represented back in the day that happened to, where they were picked up. They lived someplace near a border, like San Diego, put across the border, or Texas, put across the border, and then we had not ICE, but immigration had to go all the way to Belize to pick those people up and bring them back, right, in order to deport them legally. And they ended up getting a deportation order, right? So I want to be careful about the language that we use, because people will use very broad language like deported or criminal, or whatever. And those are legal terms. They're very broadly. Those are very broad terms. Like I said, deportation is a legal process. It becomes very, very complex, and each case is different depending on what you have in your background. So for people who cross the border, and I highly, highly discourage that. People who cross the border, I've had a number of Belizeans come to me saying, I crossed the border of Mexico with a Mexican visa, and that's not an American visa, right? Having a visa is really important. It is called an entering with inspection, and if you have entered just by crossing the border without a visa, that's called an illegal entry, obviously. But when you have that, it is almost impossible to get legal, right? Because inspection is critical in order to go to the next step of getting your green card.
Let me slow down again. You're saying, because many of us come through the back, as they say, we travel through Mexico and then we cross over with no inspection. We slip through, as in Mexico, it's very easy to do that. You're saying that if we did it that way, and we're in Los Angeles, San Diego, or wherever of the United States, but we never did go through a visa process, it is more difficult for us to get legal then? Is it what you're saying? As opposed to if I simply had a 3-month visa, overstayed my time, and now I'm trying to get legal.
Yeah, that's a very different, you'll have a very different experience, right? So, because you've been inspected, so at some point down the road, it would be possible to get legal status. But when you just cross over, that's why you have so many people here. Right now, we're at 14 million undocumented people here, and more than half of those people cross the border, right? So they which is why it's taken so long, which is why you still have DACA and you have all these other programs, because a lot of those people cannot become legal no matter what, because they never were inspected. So that's what that's what the problem is for so many folks. Because if you come in with a visa, and you let's say you get married or whatever, that's a process that should be pretty smooth, right? You get married, you get your green card, 3 years later you become a citizen. That's a whole different process. Without the inspection, without the visa, it can take you years, if ever. And so people come in and they think, well, I'm going to have a kid. My kid's born in the U.S. They're now 21. They can petition for me. They cannot actually, because you were never expected. Right?
So your child born in the United States, when you are illegal, when they reach a certain age, they still cannot, as we say, file for you because you came in originally without papers?
Right. Unless you qualify for a waiver. Right? And that's what I'm saying. These things become very layered. Right? They become very layered depending on your situation. So there used to be, or there still is, a process that if somebody filed for for your green card, let's say, I don't know, before 2017 at this point, I think, and it never, a lot of people start the process, but they don't complete it. They abandon it. They have a fallout with a relative, whatever, whomever has petitioned for them. And so, but that petition was filed. Right, and you are not able to continue it because of the illegal entry. But just the fact that petition was filed, it's the I-130. If a relative has filed that on your behalf, then you would be able to file for a waiver because you had the process started again. I mean, before, right? However, many people don't have that, right? Where somebody has filed for them in the past. But if somebody has filed for you in the past, even if you don't have those documents anymore, it's worth it to go dig them up. You can file what's called a Freedom of Information Act request, because anything that you file with the U.S. government is in a file somewhere. Right?
Well, listen, Dr. Williams, I have to stop you. We have to take our first break. And if you don't mind, when you come back, I'll open the phone lines, because there may be people who are going through this experience and may want to call in and ask you a question directly. So can you hold on for us? Let's just go through our first break.
Yes, sure.
Thank you. This is time for 2 Cent Scam, which is brought to you by Fort Point Security. attorney at law, S.K. Williams. She's a professor, and she has been on our show before, and she's giving us valuable information. I want to open up the phone lines now in case you may have some questions for our sister. Our number here is 280-5848. If I can go quickly over what you've shared with us so far, the fear of day one is not a real, it's a lot of propaganda there, more so hype than anything else. That's one. Let's get the first call. Welcome, caller.
Brother Nuri, good morning. Good morning, Jess.
Yes, sir.
I'm very proud. I feel very happy. I heard the credentials. I am very excited that somebody from Belize has gone abroad, has got that opening horizons. We have all of this talent, raw talent.
Yes, sir.
The only thing I wish, if they could do that and come home and bring some of that here. I know they will be hated because nobody likes change, even me. I fight change. But I think what we need is some broader minds, some exposed minds to different things. Because the way we're going here, it's not working. I will give you an example.
We'll
that lady who's an attorney might be all of that there.
Yeah.
And then come here and we say this person is crazy.
Yeah, indeed.
You understand me? I was watching the news yesterday and the Shine Barrow that on TV. I'm wondering where is this guy Belize? This superhero, nice spoken, sounding like he gives a care about everything. Wait, when everyone said about this guy says, no, you see? So I am telling you, brother, Nuri, we have great minds in Belize. We don't need to bring people from far. We have talented Belizeans, very educated Belizeans.
Yes, I
the only
agree.
problem is that most of them are afraid because of the way how the system runs here. If we change that, if we bring some people from outside, and then they have a better understanding that, no, you can't do that.
Yeah.
Or this has to stop. You understand me?
I got you.
I'll leave you with that, brother.
All right, and I appreciate that call. It's very true that we have a tendency not to respect and to appreciate the achievements of our people like Dr. Williams. I don't know if you want to comment on that before I go back to some questions, sister.
You know, I was not able to hear him.
Man.
Wow. So I was not able to hear him.
All right, he was basically applauding you and saying it would be so good that Belizeans who qualify themselves like you would return to Belize. But I also understood him to be saying that we as Belizeans don't appreciate our own. And we have a tendency to give more accolades and more respect to foreigners that come here than qualified individuals like yourself. And then he dealt a little bit with a little politics there with Brother Shine Barrow, who, as you know, is touring the United States now. But let me go back directly to your conversation. If I understand you right, you are saying also that if you go through the back, illegally, as many of us do, go to the United States through Mexico and enter the United States undocumented, that it's more difficult for you to correct your status than if you went in there with a visitor's visa and overstayed your time. This is correct?
That's correct.
All right.
That's correct.
Thirdly,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm also looking at the fact that you have said that if you have children born in the United States, there's no guarantee that because you have children that was born in the United States, that's automatically going to correct your status even when they reach the age of 21 and can so-called file for you. Is that correct?
If you have entered without a visa.
Right, if you came in without a visa. And then thirdly, and this is the area I didn't ask you, is many of us go to the United States and to try to correct our status, we get married to an American and we ask the American to file for us. Has that changed now? Is there a promised change of that under the Trump administration?
Well, they're not looking at that category particularly right now. I'm not saying they won't, but so far, what I wanted to inform folks about is about something called the RAISE Act, right? And it's the Reform American Immigration for Strong Employment Act, and that was legislation that the administration, the first Trump administration in 2016, wanted to pass. And it's a very, very conservative law that does a lot of that changes a lot of categories. And while it didn't pass, it looks like they're going to try to bring something similar back. And right now, after this election, the Republicans are controlling all branches of government, right? So they're controlling. They've won the White House, they've won the Senate, they've won the House of Representatives, and they've packed the Supreme Court. And so, legislation did not pass. This legislation did not pass the last time around. It's probably going to pass this time around. And why that is important is because there are some categories that are going to be curtailed, like if you're a citizen, a lot of times people want to bring their siblings, they want to bring their children over 21, they want to bring their parents. All those categories might be eliminated.
Wow.
And so, no longer would you be able to bring your parents, or petition for your parents, petition for your children over 21, or petition for siblings. And I know the sibling category is going to be the one that is most likely going to be chopped, right? Because it's the one that's considered least important. The other thing is they're looking at people's educational levels. And so at a minimum, right, it is really important to graduate high school. I know a lot of people drop out of high school and they come and they figure, I can get a job in the U.S. anyway, even if I don't have a high school diploma, I can get my GED while I'm there, and so on. Education is going to become really, really important. And what they're doing is that they're following the immigration, what is it called? They're following the Canada and Australia. They're following those patterns, right? So it's really hard to get into those countries if you do not have
a degree,
some level of education.
Yeah. We have another call here for you. I'm sorry to disrupt you, but we did tell them that we'll accept the call. Yeah. Welcome, caller. Do you have a question for our guest?
Yes. Good morning.
Yes, sir.
I just used to live in the U.S.
You have to turn down your radio, sir. You're getting a feedback.
All right. One second. The TV, I don't watch your phone.
All right, good.
All right. I just used to live in the U.S.
Okay.
I get busted over 30 odd years ago. I came back. I spent 6 months in prison, and I came back. I went and lived in New York, and then I left New York and came back to Belize. I want to work at my city to have that on funny, because my daughter is born American, and she used to work at the Pentagon. And she did a profile for me, so I want to know if that's what city I'm American, or they claim after 10 years you're supposed to scrub it off.
All right. I think I understand your question. Did you hear him at all?
I didn't. I heard it again. It's very choppy. I couldn't understand.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. He was in the United States over 30 years ago. He got busted and sent back home. He went back into the United States, had children, one daughter that works in the Pentagon, and he wants to know if he files again, if he would be able to qualify.
Well, he said he got busted. What does that mean?
I don't know. I don't know what crime he committed. I don't know if it's at the level of a misdemeanor or a felony. But that's what I understood. If I didn't understand it correctly, caller, you can call back. All right.
I can answer broadly. Like I said, the language in the law, excuse me, is very important, because I don't know what busted means. I don't know. That could mean got picked up for for a speeding ticket. I don't know. So, again, it's a very, very broad category. So it'd be important to understand a couple of things. What were you picked up for? Did you serve jail time? How much jail time?
Yeah.
The fact that he went back to Belize, how did he go back to Belize? Was he deported? Was, that kind of thing. So that's why it's important to contact a lawyer to ask those questions, because you would have a consultation where they would ask you the very, very detailed questions. So if you're going to call in with a question, you might want to have some details so that I can help by answering
a little bit more clearly. All right. Until we get another call, please proceed on. And I'm sorry to disrupt you. Hold on. Look like he's calling back. All right. Welcome again, caller.
Yes, good morning. It's me again.
Yeah.
What I explained to you all just now, I just used to live in the U.S. like 30 odd years, nearly 38 years. When I first went to the U.S. through the back, I was selling little drugs in the U.S. in California because I didn't have a job. It was like maybe like a gram and a half of crack cocaine. Then from there I went to spend 6 months in the prison. They released me. I went up to New York and get me a job up there. And I spent about 5 years up there, and then I came back home by myself. I want to know if that was there be on my record over 30 years.
All right, good. Thank you. I think you understand what he's saying this time, no?
It was hard for me to hear. Well, so is it possible for you to repeat what he said?
Well, he was, and maybe I'm not doing a good job, but he said he lived in the United States for many years. And then he got busted for selling crack cocaine. He had to spend some time in jail, and then he came back to Belize and has been in Belize up to now. But he has a daughter that works for the Pentagon. And I think what he's asking is if he files to go back to the States now, will those records, I guess, work against him?
They definitely will. Records like, I don't know, again, what he, whether he spent jail time and how much jail time.
6 months. 6 months in jail, he said.
I didn't hear?
He said 6 months in jail.
Okay, so that matters. It matters a lot that it's 6 months, and because over a year is when they begin to look at things. Now, in terms of criminal convictions, distribution of controlled substances like crack are really, really important, right? And even though it's I guess he said, I thought I heard him say over 30 years ago, criminal records for immigration purposes never go away. And so, which is why you see people being deported after so many years. So he would need to get with, again, an immigration lawyer that specializes in criminal convictions to see if there's any way they can get that off the record. Because even if it's expunged for federal purposes, you can wipe your record clean for federal purposes, for things so that you can vote and, whatever else. But it's really hard when it comes to immigration because they do not take them off the record. So it would be important for him to get with a lawyer and find out if they can help him with that. That being said, he says, I have a daughter who works at the Pentagon. What is her status, right? And I imagine she's a citizen because you couldn't get a federal job without being a citizen.
Yeah.
And so it would be important for him to have that consultation and so on. The other question I have for him is, how did he end up back in Belize? Was he deported or did he leave on his own? That's a really important question because, again, it goes back to the bar time. Because even if he could get petitioned by his daughter and that would work, he would still have, if he was deported, if he left voluntarily, that's fine. But if he was deported, the bar time that he received through that deportation process would be important. But if he just left on his own, maybe that might work out for him a little bit easier. So like I said, important to get a lawyer.
It sounds like, and not just an ordinary lawyer, but a lawyer that actually works with criminal matters. We can't deal with your question again, caller, because he's calling back a third time. I need you to go on and explain the idea that you mentioned about your children, assuming that you can bring your brother, or you could bring you did say you can bring your child, but you're saying bringing your brother and sister over may be struck from the what is allowed now.
Yeah, from what's allowed now.
Yeah.
The intent of this administration is to reduce immigration by 50%, and they are really focusing on giving they're really lowering what's called the refugee numbers. That's where they're starting, and they're also patterning they end the diversity visa. I know a lot of Belizeans have done the diversity lottery. That's gonna be gone, and they're really focusing on bringing people from European countries, right? So they want to, which is why they're going to come down hard on Latin America, the Caribbean, Africa. They're going to come down hard on immigrants coming out of those places. To be really blunt, they want white people, and so even for those Belizeans that identify as white down in Belize, they're not going to fit into the category of being white in the U.S., and so they might have a harder time as well. And again, like I said before, they're focusing on bringing people with a certain level of education. So if you have a bachelor's degree, you're even better off than if you just have a high school diploma, and so on. There's that. Plus, I want to advise people that if they have cases that are in the pipeline right now, and they're just kind of sitting on them and not doing anything, it's really critical to get going with it. If you meant to file something for a family member that's down there, do it now, right? Before these laws get into place. Because at the end of the day, you want to be in the pipeline, right? So that if you have filed, then they can't say a law was in place when you filed, because it would not have been.
Yeah.
So if you've been procrastinating on a case, it's really important to do it now. That being said, every administration is 4 years long. Right? It's 4 years. It's going to be 4 years of insanity. It's going to be 4 years of terrorizing people. But it's 4 years, and we can really only hope that another administration that's not like this one comes into place in 2028.
Indeed.
But for 4 years, we're going to have to deal with it. And so people really need to get ready, and don't run. Don't start leaving the country in droves and freaking out. Let them put you through the process, right? Yeah. And it's stressful, but at the same time, it's important to get a legal deportation if you are in that category. So that's for the people who might be facing deportation. Yeah. Important to show up to court. Those are the things that I really want to leave you with. Really, really important to get your process done. Really important to get a lawyer. For those people who are not in that process, who are in the process of getting your green card, make sure that you stick with it. Don't drop your case, because it's in the pipeline. And then thirdly, for the people who are procrastinating about filing something, file it now, right? File it now, and as quickly as you can. Find the money to do it, and because for 4 years you might not be able to. And for those categories like parents and children over 21 and siblings, you definitely want to file those petitions now.
I will ask just to make clarity. As I said earlier, there are many Belizeans who have gone to the States and married Americans. I remember it was almost like a business at one time, that you would pay somebody, get married, and then you really don't have no relationship with that person. You really just married that person because they were an American citizen. Is that still allowed?
Well, it was never allowed, but yeah, I know that people do it. It's a very risky thing to do, right? Yeah. Because if you and I've had many cases like these where there was a fraudulent marriage, but I was not aware that it was a fraudulent marriage. I believed that people were married. The immigration officers are very experienced, right? And they go through all kinds of training. And I don't advise it. I don't advise people to marry somebody that they're not really involved with, or marry and then live separately and all that kind of stuff. There are all kinds of tricks that the government will pull on you, where they'll show up to the address that you've given and that kind of thing. And if you get caught up in a fraudulent marriage, then you are permanently barred from coming to the U.S. Right? Even if you live here, you'll be put into deportation. Yes. And so, and when I say put into deportation, I don't mean they're going to send you packing right away. They'll put you through the process, and you might win your case, but why go through that, right? So, the one thing that I do advise people to not do again is don't marry somebody who's undocumented. There are a lot of people here. I get so many people showing up. They're undocumented. They marry somebody who's undocumented. I can't help you, right? And so you've got to be realistic, and some folks will be like, well, I love this person. I get it. I understand. However, they can't help you if that's what you're looking for from them.
Yes, yes.
Right? And so,
and lastly, there is this thing of your child is born in the States. You're living in Belize, and your child is also living in Belize, and so therefore your child as an American citizen has access to get a passport. Does that give you as the parent the right to travel with your child based on the fact that your child is a minor and needs the accompaniment of their parent? Can you, as a parent, undocumented, go into the United States because your child has a U.S. visa, a U.S. passport?
No. Well, it depends. If the person has a visa, yeah, they can come in. But your minor child really gives you no rights at all. Right. When your child,
so it's not automatic that because you have such a situation that you will get a visa to go with your child.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you could get a visa. If you got a visa, you could go with your child.
Okay.
But your child's status as an American doesn't give you any status at all until they reach the age of 21, when they're able to petition for you.
Yeah.
If you're outside the country, or if you're in the country and you've entered with a visa.
Okay. I'll give you a last word, sister, and clearly, you unpacked so much today, but there's still so much more of this immigration puzzle that a lot of people really need to hear from you more often. I'll give you a last word, though. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. I wanna let people know that we really ought to be prepared. We really need to. It's not our first time going through this with this person, and so it's important for us to be ready. The other thing I want to say is that one of the things that they're trying to go after is what's called birthright citizenship. So that is that's the citizenship of children who were born here whose parents do not have status. There's that, but then also they're thinking about taking away the citizenship of people who've been naturalized. That includes myself, and it doesn't matter how long you've been living here and all this kind of stuff. It becomes very complicated. What I want folks to not do is to pay attention to rumor mongering. Right? There's a lot of people who will come to you and act like they know what they're talking about. Don't listen to people. Don't listen to gossip and all this other kind of stuff. I know people in communities like to share all this information and so on, and then they show up at the law office and they think they have all this information. Wait for the lawyers to get educated and tell you what's happening, right? Don't listen to rumors. Yeah, listen to the news. Try to keep yourself educated. But he said, she said about this is not at all helpful. It'll make you anxious. You'll be scared. And people love to tell stories. They love to tell stories that they think are going to scare you, right? Especially if they're not in the same position as you. And so, I've had people, in my workplace, there's a lot of people. I'm in California. There's a lot of people who are undocumented, and they will tell each other, well, yeah, they're going to come day one. They're going to put you in a truck, and this is going to happen. But they're saying that because they are legal, right? They have documented status. And so they're telling these people who are undocumented all these stories to scare them. It's sadistic, but it's human nature. Yeah. But it's also human nature to listen to gossip around that kind of stuff.
Yes, of course.
Like I said, educate yourself from places that are reliable, not from people who are trying to rumor monger and scare you. So it's important to stay educated that way. Important to get in touch with a lawyer. Listen out for legal clinics. One of the organizations that, if you are in the United States, or even if you're outside the United States, one of the organizations that really will help you stay informed is called Catholic Charities, and it's a national organization here in the U.S. that helps with all kinds of issues around refugees and people getting documented and things like that. They put out newsletters and so on. I can't give you their URL because I'm not here to endorse anybody, but I recommend looking them up. It's called Catholic Charities, and they will have all kinds of information on there.
Yeah.
So I wish people well. I really hope that that we can go through this in a sane way. I know that it might be a pipe dream of mine, but at the end of the administration, hopefully another administration will take over that will not be as brutal. Yeah. The goal of this administration, they say make America great again, but it's really make America white again.
Yeah.
And I don't think that that's going to be possible. One, because Europeans don't want to come here because it's such a nightmare, right?
Yeah,
and
yeah,
so,
yeah.
and this country needs immigrants.
Absolutely.
It really does.
Built on you.
And yeah, it needs immigrants for work purposes. It needs immigrants just because that's the nature of the United States.
Yeah.
That's how it was formed.
Yeah.
And so I don't mean to get on a soapbox at the end, but I hope that you all can stay positive and be able to manage yourselves without becoming hysterical and so on.
Yeah.
For my purposes, when I heard they might be taking away naturalization of people who were not born here but became citizens here, that's the category I'm in.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, Belize is home. I haven't been there in a really long time, but it's very near and dear to my heart still. And I'm not afraid to go home.
Yeah.
Right? And it's home.
Well, that's what was being asked before. Are you ready to come home and you're willing to come home? Yeah, I'm glad to hear that, Dr. Williams, because you would be a great asset to us on so many different levels, not only at the university level, but in so many other areas. No? Thank you very much for being with us. I read where one of the advisors of Mr. Trump, his name is Stephen Miller, you've probably heard of him.
Stephen Miller is a nightmare.
Yeah, he made the statement, America is for Americans and only Americans. So you could see the mindset there, Okay.
Yeah, well, American is broadly defined.
Very broad.
And
you don't mean white?
Is broadly defined. And Americans are, if American is only for the Americans, then all of us need to leave because the only true Americans are indigenous Americans.
Indeed,
So,
indeed. Thank you very much, sister, and we look forward. All the best.
Thank you so much.
All right.
I hope to see you all again.
Look forward.
It's the 35th annual Cram New Year's Day Cycling Classic, and you know what it is.
Again, I want to thank Dr. Williams for that excellent information sharing that she did with us this morning. That's a very critical area of concern to many Belizeans, particularly when she says that there are a number of Belizeans that are already naturalized citizens of the United States, and the possibility of your being deported is also great. So we won't take any phone calls right now. Please call back after we finish talking with our present guests. So Tonio, I'll ask you to hold those calls. Our guest now is one Belizean and one American that has been with us before. I'll introduce the visitor first. They're calling, they're insisting. Yeah. All right, let's see. Okay. We have Reverend Mushad Evans.
Yes.
That's good enough? All right. And he's a senior, of course. That means he has sons. He's the pastor of the Bethel AME Church in Ann Arbor, Michigan. And it says that they have pioneered with the ministry that is led by Candice Morrison, who is a Belizean, and she is part of Moment of Inspiration. Right?
Yes.
All right. So can I talk to Mr. Evans first,
Sure.
and then we'll get to you because you banya.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Let's start. First of all, welcome, Pastor.
Thank you.
We
It's good to be here.
appreciate this is not your first time here. So tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your pastoring in the area of Michigan.
So my name is Mushad Evans. I've been pastoring for about 20 years now.
Okay.
And I've been pastoring my current church for 7 years in Ann Arbor, Michigan. A wonderful church called Bethel.
Okay.
It's part of the AME Church, the African Methodist Episcopal Church.
Can I stop you there and ask you about AME? Because there are a lot of us that have heard about AME, and we're intrigued with the idea of African attached to Methodist, Episcopal.
Yes.
AME, very famous church, very famous institution in America. But a lot of us Belizeans are not aware of it. Can you give us a little history?
Okay. It's a long and rich history, but if I could boil it down to a few minutes, our denomination, our particular church, was founded by a formerly enslaved man, a black man named Richard Allen. He had a call on his life, felt called of God, to serve God, to serve God's people. However, because of racism and the issues of racism, he was oftentimes pushed to the side, discredited. And one particular day, one particular Sunday, he and 16 other Africans were worshiping at the St. George Methodist Episcopal Church in Philadelphia, which at the time was an integrated congregation, but it was very clear that the whites had a superior status. One Sunday in particular, he and his fellow friends are going to worship, and all the black persons were pulled off of their knees because they had come to pray as they usually did, but the church had made a decision to segregate the black people. And they had not told the Africans at the time. And so that Sunday morning they said, you can't worship here, you need to go on the balcony.
Wow.
Which was, he was highly offended.
Of course.
Highly offended by that. And so he, another brother by the name of Absalom Jones, and 16 Africans left that morning. They said, we will not be back. And they started their own church, which then grew into a much larger denomination. And that was in 1787. So almost 250 years ago.
Yes.
And the church has continued to grow all over the United States and then places and parts across the world.
Yes.
And so there are churches, of course, in the United States, Canada, South America, all throughout the Caribbean, Europe, Africa, and now even Asia.
Oh, interesting. So, besides the name African, is there something peculiar about the AME that makes it distinguished from other Christian denominations?
I would say so.
What is that?
I think there's a very strong consciousness in regards to who we are as people of color, and we all honestly believe that God has created us all, and that we're all equal in God's eyesight. But within the context of our denomination, a strong passion for racial justice, equity, making sure that all of God's people are well represented. Everyone has a seat at the table. And so what we call social justice, and the fact that who we believe we are in God, what we believe about God, should influence every aspect of our lives. And so that should influence how we vote when we go to the ballot box on election day. It should influence how we protest when there are times of protest. It should influence, where we invest our time, our money, our energy. That God has given us not the spirit of fear, but a spirit of power. And that through the power of the Holy Spirit, that we have the capacity to make a change. We have the capacity to do what we believe is the work of Jesus Christ, and that is to show and to share God's love. So I think that's one of the differences that you might see within our denomination.
Yeah.
And so we encourage people, encourage members, encourage believers to allow the Spirit to help exercise and expand and enlarge your faith to make a difference in your community.
It's interesting that you are saying this, Pastor Evans, because when you look at the history of the United States, clearly, there were some very evil acts that were done, and many of them were done in the name of religion. And so the AME came up during a time when there were lynchings, there were clear discrimination. It wasn't until 1964 that the Civil Rights Act actually became actualized. So you actually had those persons that were persecuting black people in the United States being Christians. How did you juxtapose that relationship with being an African Christian church with those people that kicked the founders of the AME out of the church? How did you live together under those circumstances?
And I think in many ways that's the history of the world in many ways, and in society, that oftentimes people use the name of God as a reason to justify heinous acts, whether it is through colonization, imperialization. Even in more modern times, the work of missions has been co-opted when it really is a capitalistic and an evil means of control. And they will sort of do it under the banner of Christianity or any other faith tradition to exploit their own motives. And we see that even today in the United States of America with our incoming administration. It's kind of oftentimes wrapped in this Christian language of who we are, but we don't understand that to be Christian at all, that's not the model of Jesus Christ. That's not even aligned with the Word of God as how we are supposed to be and live with one another. And so there's a tension there. And I think there will always be a tension.
Clearly. So you have been able, I'm speaking you now as the church, have been able to navigate the circumstances of that wider Christian society, but maintaining your African identity even within that church.
Absolutely.
Okay. We do know that there was an argument, and it goes way, way, way back, of the imageries that were used in Christianity as a means of colonialism, as a means of making people feel that you are black and so therefore you stay back, and that Jesus was white and God is white, and etc. How did you navigate that through the years to maintain that identity despite that more global thinking that existed in the United States?
And it's not for me personally, it was not a straight path. It was not a straight path. So the church in which I was reared as a child, it was an African Methodist congregation, but they had purchased the building. It was a very old building from, I believe it was a white Anglican church. And so even as a child, the stained glass windows in the church all had pictures of a white Jesus with blonde hair and blue eyes. And I remember as a teenager, particularly when I was around 13, 14, I was just angry. I felt that, Christianity was a tool of the white man. And that was part of the community in which I lived. I lived in Newark, New Jersey, which at one time had one of the largest concentrations of the Nation of Islam outside of New York and Chicago.
Indeed.
And so a lot of my influences were, people talking about racial pride and who we are as a people. And it took a while for me to really come to terms with who I am. Number one, who I am as a man of faith. And I think what helped me was my denomination, the church. So within the AME Church, you have models of, we have a very famous matriarch of the civil rights movement named Rosa Parks.
Of course, yes.
And she was an AME and believed very strongly.
I didn't know that.
Very much so. In the United States, there is a very classic and court case with the highest court, the Supreme Court, called Brown versus the Board of Education,
yes,
which helped to end segregation. Brown, with the plaintiff, his name was Reverend Brown. He was an AME pastor who sued the Board of Education so that his daughter and children could have equal educational opportunities. And so what helped me was the fact that I could be unashamedly black and unapologetically Christian at the same time. That I didn't have to put down who I was. As people of faith, we believe we're all equal in the eyes of God.
Yes,
that,
of course we
that
are.
God does not see color per se, but God celebrates. Like we're all a reflection of God's imagery.
Yeah.
And so if God has created me as a black man, then I must be created
just
in the
as
image
good.
of God.
Yes,
Absolutely.
just as good. Yes.
Absolutely. Now I'm talking too long. So.
No. It's talking too long. It's how you're putting some stuff out there that I'm sure many of us have not heard before. But let's take our next break, and then we'll come back. It's going to be all things Belizean. All right. welcome back. Our guest in this latter part of WUB this morning is Pastor Evans, Senior from Michigan, and our local Belizean Sister Candice Morrison. And so we've talked about the history of the AME.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about your ministry in Belize.
Well, our ministry is Remnant Ministries.
Okay.
So we're grounded in Isaiah 61, just to proclaim, because God has empowered us to hope to our nation.
Yes.
You know, slavery used to be a lot physical, but a lot of people are enslaved mentally and emotionally. And so through God's empowerment, through His Spirit, we know that there is freedom that He brings, you know, and joy that He brings even in suffering, and hope that He brings even in dark days. And we're declaring that the night must end and day must come, that there must be a dawning of a new day where smiles come again, where there's light, right, that comes into darkness. So we do various outreaches and teachings. We go to the prison, we go into impoverished communities, and we spread light and we spread hope. You know, we empower each other, growing in our faith and our spirituality, so we'll be able to overcome our challenges that we face on a daily basis, of course, through God's help.
That's inspirational right there. And you've been working with our good friend Virginia Eccles.
Yes, I have. I think we met through my mother, because my mother is also in ministry. And so she has moments of inspiration. And so I would go on the show as a preacher and declare God's word.
All right. That's because Virginia's show, Moments of Inspiration, has been on this media house for 24 years.
Wow.
A lot of people don't realize that. And she's been trotting along. And you kind of left with now and gone to Atlanta here, but she's still every week on Sunday, her broadcast comes over. Let's look at what specifically you're doing this time around, because our limitation of time. What are some of the activities that will take place with you over these next few days?
So this is our third time here in Belize, and each year that we have been, 2018, 2019, and this year, the plan and the focus is service.
Okay.
Ways in which we can meet people and serve and share and show the love of God through not simply our words, but also our actions.
Okay.
Tying what we believe God wants us to do to ways in which we can serve. So particularly over the years, we have been serving with Golden Haven Rest Home. We've served with a particular ministry with which Virginia is active. It's a women's resource center. Okay. And so the building that they have, we've helped as far as painting, some construction. Years ago it was demolition, but you know, now they're up and running. And so even now, our group is there doing some work at the house itself.
When you say your group, how large is your group that came this
There are 21 of us this year.
Oh my goodness. All from Michigan?
Michigan and other places.
All
Michigan,
right. Great.
Illinois, other places.
Men and women?
Yes.
All right. Young and old?
Yes.
All right, very good.
So I think the youngest is my son, who's 12, and
great.
the oldest, I think, not this year, but 2019, we had a member of our church who was 84.
All right. All right.
We've partnered with Dorothy Menzies, and we'll be there again this afternoon and Sunday. But our Keystone project is the medical fair, in which we provide some medical assessment with our doctors, nurses, dentists, pharmacists, all of whom
are with you this time around. Oh, wonderful.
The medical
wonderful.
professionals.
So how can people access what you have? Are there some specific dates and places that you could share with us now?
So it's free. It's open to the public. Anyone is invited. We are pivoting because of the weather.
Yes, of course.
We had originally been outside. I think we do have some more information. I don't have the details of the locations,
Yes,
but if you...
we'll get that from Candice in a minute. Yeah.
But we'll be there tomorrow.
All right. And this is for the medical, anyone who has medical issues can visit. Are you doing actual, like for example, extractions for dentists or?
So we're not doing any extractions, but we certainly are blood pressure, blood sugar readings. We have social workers there to talk about psychological problems.
Okay.
We'll also have a place for prayer if people want to come and have the wholeness of the person as far as the spiritual aspect, and pharmacists there who can, and we're also partnering with Belizean medical professionals to provide whatever assistance we can.
When you say medicines, that you will be actually distributing some medicines too?
So what we have is over-the-counter medications.
Okay, of course.
And so if there's an evaluation for something deeper, the physician will share that so that
he can write a prescription for people to be able to access their prescribed medicine. That's good. And Candice, this is a part of what you will be doing likewise.
Yes.
You'll be working with them.
We're partnering with them on the ground.
All right. Is there anything that the pastor left out that you should put in?
So just the location.
All
so
right.
Right now we're currently right across from Chosan.
All right.
Right. But we are trying to pivot to a location that would provide, because of the rain, that would provide. So we're going to be contacting the show. And
so hopefully on the morning stew, because they're just making the final preparation, if you tune into the morning stew, which most of you will be able to hear a call from Candice saying exactly where the relocation is.
Yes, just because of the weather, to make sure that everyone feels warm and safe, not wet.
Yes, indeed. Well, let me give you a last word, and then I'll give the last word to the pastor. What else would you like to say?
Okay, so I want to encourage everyone to come out, especially the medical fair. As he said, we are providing both physical and spiritual needs there. If you just need prayer, you can come on out and just receive from the team that has come, because we know that you want to be inspired by what they have to offer to our nation at this time. So definitely come out. Remember, everything that we're doing is free. So you can come out and just enjoy the time we have, whether it's physical or medical, for what we're coming to do.
And with this time that we are going through with this threat of the tropical storm and possible hurricane, a lot of people are very anxious during this time. So I can see a lot of people may just want the comfort and the reassurance that it's going to work out, it's going to be all right. So,
yes.
Indeed. Well, let me give you the last word, Pastor.
Well, I would just like to say thank you. This is our third time coming, and we consider it a gift, the opportunity to come to serve. And every time we've been here, the people of Belize and, the partnerships we have with the various ministries has really been a blessing to us. As we realize that we don't come with anything, that we are simply here to serve, and for allowing us to serve, we are grateful. We're grateful.
I think we got a lot of help from the government of Belize,
Absolutely.
Mirai's ministry, Mars Rental, and Remnant. So we just want to say thank you for opening the doors to us, for us to come and minister.
Very much so.
Indeed. Well, it's so good to have ministries that come to give,
Amen,
as opposed to get.
Yes.
And so we're very happy, and we ask you to give as much support as you can. Attend the clinics, attend the opportunities to engage for spiritual reasons, and absolutely take advantage of the opportunity of all these medical persons being here to test you, examine you, and give you advice on your medical issues. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
We'll take our final break and come back and close up.